This is week 3 of 10 ways to thrive in challenging times. What's this throwing at me here? Anyway, my husband and I in the last couple days went down to Mobile, Alabama, just for a quick getaway. And after we checked into the hotel, we took a walk. And we were staying downtown, so we kind of, we were walking down the sidewalks to Dolphin Street, and because that's where all the restaurants are. So as we're walking, I noticed that there was a lot of stores that had a closed sign in the window. And I thought at the time that it was because it was, later in the day, around dinner time, and it's a downtown area, so I just thought they were closed. But there were a lot of restaurants closed as well, but I thought maybe they were just lunchtime cafes. And the next day, I was looking for somewhere to go for lunch while my husband was working, and I walked down that same area and realized that they were all still closed. Y'all, that kind of hit me a little bit. And while I was eating lunch, I did find a place, and while I was eating lunch, I pulled up on my phone just to see if I could find some statistics on how many businesses have closed over the past year. And the number is over 100,000. Over 100,000. That's a lot, y'all. Over 100,000 small businesses have closed because of the pandemic, and they will not be reopening. That's not just 100,000 business owners who have lost a livelihood or families that have been impacted, but all their employees have lost their jobs and their families impacted as well. Small business owners are the backbone of the country, and they employ more than the bigger companies do. And it kind of got me thinking about the year that Vertical Solutions Media started. We started in 2008, or June of 2008, and if you remember, in the fall of 2008 is when the bottom fell out of the market, basically. The housing market, the bubble burst, so to speak, and people were losing their jobs left and right. The economy went into a nosedive. So of course it would be the year that I start a company. So we were about 4 or 5 months old when that started to happen, and we had to quickly pivot from the thing that we were initially focused on, which was sales. We were providing sales services for magazines, newspapers, chamber books, souvenir guides, all of those things. Well, all of those things, businesses weren't buying ads anymore, and they were pulling in because they didn't know what was happening with the economy, and it was a really rough time. And so we kind of shifted, and we started publishing a magazine ourselves and focusing on that. And then we also started serving small businesses and helping them kind of get through this rough time. I feel like it's come full circle. It just kind of maybe hit me how full circle it has come. Vertical Solutions Media over the years has grown and prospered, and we've worked with some great companies. But of course, like with anything, as we grow, our average size company that we've worked with has also grown. And so we've kind of gotten away from the small business owner and working more with larger size companies. And now we go through the pandemic. And now I feel like this is an opportunity for me to kind of go back to my roots of how I started, and working with small business owners again and helping them get through this time that we're in. It's unprecedented. It's hard. When I was sitting there in Mobile having lunch, I got talking to the owner of the restaurant and just hearing his heart for, how he has survived. And, I won't get into the whole story, but, he had a number of homemade hot sauces. And of course, we have a hot sauce company, as a lot of you know. So we had that, conversation about what about bottling your hot sauce and starting to sell that. And he's like, I could see him getting excited about the idea of doing something new and not just being in survival mode, but, really casting a vision for his business and where he could move it. And that kind of inspired me at the same time. So that's kind of all leading up to number 3. So let's recap. Number 1 was focus on what you have and reimagine everything, right? We need to reinvent our business in any way, shape, or form that we need to. Number 2 was we need to recognize the new normal. The world has changed. So we need to make sure that we're staying relevant and changing along with it. Number 3, the third way of thriving in challenging times is make a plan. Now, that sounds simple, make a plan. It's one of those easier said than done type of things. And I can tell you in all the years that I've worked with the small business owners, very few have ever had a business plan or a marketing plan or anything that they could show me. If I asked them what have you been doing, they would kind of just, it was all in their head. And they hadn't really put it down on paper. So I want to talk about the importance of making a plan. Things have changed. The market has changed. Last week we talked a lot about that. And, we need to make sure that our business is changing with it and that we're staying relevant. And the way that we can do that is by getting our plan out of our heads and down onto a piece of paper, so we can really analyze the specifics of what we have, who we are, who we serve, what we do, where we're going, all of those good things. So I'm going to give you 5 reasons for business planning, because I know you're busy, and I know that maybe you're just holding on in the day-to-day, like the restaurant owner that I talked to yesterday. But this is important. This is what's going to get us through all that has happened, all that is happening, and help our businesses grow and succeed going forward. So one of the reasons for business planning is that it highlights problem areas. And we don't like to think about that, right? Denial is a very powerful thing. We like to think that we've got things handled if we can just keep moving forward, if we can just survive another day. But the process of business planning actually highlights those things that gets them out in the open, so we can really address them and move past them. And ultimately, it's like when you're in a relationship, right? If you just keep sweeping those problems under the rug, eventually you're going to have a big bump, and you could trip on that bump in the rug. So it's important that we really address those problems instead of sweeping them under the rug. And accepting hard facts is difficult, but it's necessary to get past them. Another reason why business planning is so important is it brings out the details. When things are up in your head, you kind of keep that big picture, big vision thing going, but you don't really get down to the nitty gritty in your head, because I don't know about you, but I don't have room up here for all of that with everything else that I'm keeping up here. So getting it down helps you understand exactly what you need to do both now and in the future. And sometimes getting those specifics out really helps you understand them in a way that you didn't before. The third thing that business planning does is it organizes your resources. So it basically ends up giving you a guide to setting up and allocating your assets, your resources, your time even. It helps you understand where to focus your energy so that you're not just, you're not just being a shotgun and blowing out your energy and resources in every direction, but you have a very narrow, specific, targeted plan for how you should be spending your time. The four things that it does, and this doesn't apply to all of you, but some of you it does, it will help attract investors. If you're looking for capital, for venture capital, angel investors, or if you're even trying to get a loan from a bank, having a business plan is basically a necessary tool to helping others see what your vision is, see what your plan is, and it gives them confidence in knowing that you have taken the time to really think things through, and then they feel better about moving forward with you. And the last thing that business planning does is it creates milestones for us to shoot for. It actually creates that target off in the distance so we know where we're going. The cliche is if we if we don't have a plan, then we plan to fail, all that good stuff, So this is giving us that milestone that we know that we're working towards. And by having milestones that we're working towards, we can also check ourselves, right? At any given time in the process, we can look and see, are we still on track? Have we, lost our way? Do we need to come back to center? And we're not going to know that if we don't have those targets set out for us. So I want to talk a little bit. Those are kind of the 5 reasons to do business planning. So let's talk about some benefits of business planning really quick, because I'm really selling this idea that you need a business plan. It's a big picture view. Allows you to see the big picture, right? Once you get it all laid out there, the big picture may not look like it does in your head. The big picture in your head sometimes can be swayed from day to day. By having it out on an actual plan, it becomes more solid, more solidified. Another benefit of a good business plan is it gives you a strategic focus. So it helps you establish that brand differential. I know a lot of business owners really haven't thought about their brand differential before. They might know, okay, well, this company A is a competitor to me, and they do this and I do that. And to them, that's the brand differential, but it's so much more than that. And the process of working through a business plan it gives you a better understanding of how to talk about your company, how you are different from your competition, and why that should matter to people, why that should matter to your customers. The third benefit is that it sets your priorities. And like I said before, if you are just shotgunning all over the place, you're spinning your wheels, you're spending a whole lot of time doing this and that, and you feel busy, you feel like you're working hard. But if you're not actually moving towards your goal, then it's just a waste of your time and energy. So really, a business plan helps you really set those priorities, and so that's a huge benefit, is just understanding, should I be working on this or should I be working on that? Another thing it does is it helps you manage change. The thing is about a business plan is it's a living document, right? We don't serve the plan serves us. And so as things change, as we track things, we track progress, we might need to adjust a little bit. We need to tweak as we go. So it gives us something that's in writing, that's set, that we can go, okay, this is no longer serving my objectives. I need to change that. So we're able to look at our assumptions and adjust them as we need to. Another benefit of business planning is accountability. That's a hard word, accountability, right? So sometimes we've got to hold ourselves accountable. If we set goals, if we say this is our objective, if we're feeling like these are the accomplishments that we want to achieve by the end of the year or by the end of a 5-year plan down the road, and we see that we're not going to hit those, we need to be accountable to ourselves to say, okay, either the goals I set weren't realistic, or I'm not doing something that I should be doing in order to achieve those goals. So it gives you some self-accountability. Business plan will manage your cash. Finances, if you don't have money, if you're not making money, if you're not handling your money correctly, you're not going to have a business very long. So a part of a business plan, which this is the painful part for me because I'm a creative, not a finance person, but everything's great till it isn't, right? And so a good business plan is really going to help you kind of manage your cash flow and your revenue projections and all of that good stuff. Another thing it provides is alignment. I like that word, alignment. You know, it's kind of, for me, it's like the aim. You know, we were talking about the shotgun, sniper rifle analogy. You know, the difference between a shotgun is you're just going to blow it and all flies everywhere, and you may or may not hit something that you're aiming at. Whereas with the sniper rifle, it's just, is right on. And alignment is like that. It's like that aim that you're taking towards your target. And so, in terms of your brand, in terms of your objectives, that becomes a filter that you should be looking through to determine whether or not those day-to-day things that you're doing actually line up with your brand, with your objectives. I love that word, filter. It's just straining it through that filter of your goals, because if it's not serving you to meet your goals, why are you doing it, right? We talked about milestones before. That's definitely a benefit. Having milestones, that's like, really setting your goals in terms of, by this time I want to be here, by this time I want to have that, by this time I want to develop that. And, just having those laid out so that you can see them, you can know what you're striving for, you can understand better your why. Why do you come to work every day? And then finally, the other benefits of a good business plan is metrics, and it gives you performance indicators. It gives you something that numbers that you can track with. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, I don't even know where to start with a business plan, right? So that's why one of the things we put together as part of our Time to Thrive marketing initiative is a business success plan. And that is a free download. You can go to timetothrivemembership.com and just click the button where it indicates, and you can get access to that. Actually, there's a little video in there too, and it's 100% free, no obligation. Just go get you the business success plan. It's basically going to give you an outline of the kinds of things that you want to include in a business plan. But we didn't leave you hanging. We've created something we're calling Coaching Week, Time to Thrive Coaching Week. And it's $20, which is a no-brainer. It's a series of videos and worksheets. These worksheets are very specific to business planning. They go through every single piece of it. Some of it are fill in the blank. Some of them will ask you questions to prompt you with the kinds of information that you need to include. But basically, it's going to hold your hand all the way through the process of developing a good, solid, foundational business plan for your business to help move you forward. But we didn't leave you there. On the third week of the month, if you have registered for Coaching Week, on the third week of the month, we'll do a series of live Q&As where you can get all your questions answered. If you're stumped about something, if you need help with something, if you just want to brainstorm, you will have the opportunity to do that with me. So for $20, basically you're going to get video tutorials, worksheet downloads. and then live Q&A so you can ask your questions. And at the end of that, you will have a good foundational business plan for your business. And we just talked about why that was so important. So go to timetothrivemembership.com, and next week we'll be talking about the fourth way to thrive in challenging times. Thanks for joining me.